I'm pushing up, Rotate.
Bruno, they're rotating back. They're rotating back.
They're gonna go, just rotate, guys, just rotate. Give it up. Nice, rotate.
Greetings and welcome to episode number 15 of The Rotation with Z-Hack. I cannot believe that we've made it this far, this fast. The CDL season is flying by and we have so much to talk about today. The Stage III Major has just concluded. Shout out to the boys, the Atlanta Phase, for winning the Stage III Major. They looked so good. We'll talk about that, break down their performance in a little bit on the show. But first of all, I want to thank you all for being here today. As per usual, find me on Twitter at ZHack16. Give me questions, comments, concerns, or whatever you want me to talk about on the next episode of The Rotation with Z-Hack, and on YouTube at Zach Warhack, or you can just look up The Rotation with Z-Hack. Same thing for Spotify and Apple Podcasts. I'm excited for today's episode, guys. I have a lot of new segments to roll out, a lot of opinions to give, and some hot takes to throw your way. So buckle up, get in your chair or gaming position, like when you're getting fried and you're sitting back like this and it's like, all right, it's showtime. Let's get in that position. Showtime, because we are ready to get into it with some first blood, and we're talking about the Stage III Major. Guys, I don't care about the teams. I don't care who was in it, who could be in it, ever. We're talking about the format. The grand finals format for the majors is horrendous. It's trash. It's terrible. I don't know what adjective you want me to use to describe it other than those things. We're playing for a combined $320,000, an $80,000 difference between first place and second place. And the team from the winner's bracket, who has been perfect throughout the major and made it to the grand finals, is actually at a disadvantage. I can't believe it. In my opinion, teams would rather come from the loser's bracket into the grand finals than make it there from the winner's bracket, because you're warmed up and you've been playing all day long. Guys, so far we've had 3 majors. One of the 3 majors has been won from the winner's bracket team. If that doesn't speak volumes of how trash the format is, I don't know what does. You get no advantage for coming to the grand finals from the winner's bracket, and we need to do something about it. It's making me upset, clearly, as I've been recycling this take time and time again since the Stage 1 Major, and I know all of you feel the exact same way as I do, and if you don't, you're a little bit cuckoo in my opinion. Right now, we're in a best-of-9 format. That's great. I like it. We get all the game modes. We get hardpoint, search, control, and we go through a rotation of that with an extra search and destroy thrown in there, so we're only playing a limited amount of controls, and then the hardpoints and the searches, they're really what decides the series, and if it goes the distance to Game 9, it's decided by an SND. I like 9 maps. I'll tell it to you, because it makes me feel like the teams in the grand finals, you actually have to earn it, because your depth of map pool that you have to play and be successful at, it's expanded so much from when you're just playing a best of 5 or a couple of games and a couple of series where you can pick out the weak spots of another team, win the pick with the maps and the veto process, and then after that, you give yourself the advantage there. In a best of 9, virtually everything is being played apart from a few maps here and there. So right now, that's the quote-unquote advantage that the winner's bracket team has. They get an extra veto. They get to pick first what they want to do. To me, it's not enough, because you're still playing teams on their strong maps, and you still might get your weaknesses exploited because you have to play so many, and you can only ban a certain amount of things. Plain and simple, guys, we just got to go back to the old format. We have to go back to 2 best of 5s. The best of 9 is fine as far as the length of the series. I like watching a lot of Call of Duty. I'll sit down all damn day and take in Call of Duty. I don't have a problem with that. If we go the distance, if it's a 5-4 final, great. But the winner's bracket team needs a distinct advantage. Give them a 1-0 lead. I mean, that's plain and simple, because on a championship Sunday, it's their only match they're playing. Sure, they've been warming up against another team, but how much stock is the other team actually putting into that? How hard are they actually trying, warming up and scrimming the team who's in the grand finals? They could be going at them, but they've just lost. Their weekend is done. What do they care? They could be pissed drunk and enjoying a Mai Tai or a Pina Colada or a nice IPA. Shout out Voodoo Ranger. That is my favorite. We can talk about that later. Juicy Haze, yeah, it claps. But these teams scrimming the grand finals teams on the day of their match, they don't care. What do they have invested in it? To where, on the other hand, the team from the losers bracket has been grinding all day, reapplying gamer grip left and right so they don't get those sweaty hands, and they've been battling in matches that matter. They're playing for top 4, and they're playing for a spot in the grand finals for a combined $320,000. They're at the advantage. They've been warming up all day. They've had series that matter against teams who are trying to beat them and get to the grand finals, to whereas the winners bracket team, they're just sitting there getting warmed up against a team who doesn't care. We have to do something about the grand finals format, guys. CDL, listen. We're excited. We get land for the Stage 4 Major. I know there's no fans there, but we have land for competition, so players cannot whine and complain about that being online. We need to get the format right. And I don't think what I just stated, that ain't it, Chief. A 1-0 advantage in a best of 9, I don't think that's it. I think what you do is I don't even know if I like that, because I've seen things from guys like Nameless saying, let the winners final be played on the same day. So like on Sunday, you would have the winners final and then the team sitting there ready for the losers final, but then whoever's already in there, they're going to be playing cold. So that's bad too. Because I've heard that where you play the winners final on Sunday, and then the loser final goes, and then we get to the grand finals all on the same day. So the team from the winners final who makes it to the grand finals, they played a match. They have to wait a little bit, but they're a little bit warmed up. And then the team from the losers bracket, whoever wins that final, goes to the grand finals. But the team that's already sitting there in the losers bracket for that day, then they're not warmed up. So there's a problem there. The way to solve it, give us 2 best of 5s if necessary. That's your advantage. From the winner's bracket, you have an entire series handicap. You don't get to play a match on Sunday until the grand finals. So you're sitting there over on this side of the bracket. These guys in the loser's bracket, they play each other. The loser's bracket team comes to face you. If you lose the first best of 5, reset it and we go again. You have a whole series to get warmed up. You lost it, so now you can't complain. Your hands are warmed up. Your shot's good. Your comms are up. No excuses from there. 2 best of 5s is the solution, in my opinion. Because that way both teams have a chance to play. Because if they win that match coming in cold, great. They were the better team. They beat the team from the losers bracket who made a run and they had a chance to get warmed up. Just wasn't their day. If the team in the winners final who makes it to the grand final, they lose the first set, they get to reset and go another one. I think that's the best solution, but regardless, we have to do something, Call of Duty League. Fix the format. A 1-0 advantage for the winners team, I don't like it. Make it 2 best of 5s. I'm putting my stamp on it. That is how we fix the format of the grand finals for the majors for the rest of the year, all the way to champs. That's what I have to say about that. That is my first blood take, and you guys better like it at home. Let me know what you think about the grand finals format, how we can fix it if you like it the way it is, which I don't know how you can. But in the comments down below here on YouTube, let me know. Get involved. Shoot me a tweet at zhack16 to tell me why I'm right, wrong, or you have a different opinion on the grand finals. I would love to see it switched. As you guys can see, I'm animated today. I'm hyped to talk Call of Duty. That's the first blood take. We're going to keep it rolling. Steamroll right through episode 15 of the rotation. Let's get into the next segment. Barracks news and notes from around the league. As you guys can see, we got some new imaging. We got some new transitions coming on the podcast this week. I hope you like it. I hope you love to see it. And we have some new segments to talk about too. My camera is getting a little blurry here. I was leaning into it and leaning out of it, so it kind of lost focus on me. Hello? Logitech? All right, hopefully it gets better here on out. Let's try and do one of those. Let it refocus on me. Hello? Hello? All right, we're going to let it roll. like that and let it ride. So the Barracks news and notes from around the league yesterday, Twitter was a hot spot, guys. It was absolutely nuts. It was madness around the league. And the first thing we have to talk about are the Minnesota Rokkr. Major Maniac gets his shot. He is back in the Call of Duty League, guys. He replaces Accuracy, who moves to the bench, and it's just another casualty of these big household names who have been around the Call of Duty League forever. It's crazy, guys. We've seen it happen left and right. We've lost Zinni, we've lost Slasher, and now Accuracy going to the bench for Minnesota. And the way they explained it, because they do a really good job over at Minnesota of explaining things and putting stuff on their Twitter and everything they do with that. So they basically said, hey, the biggest improvement here, I think that Major Maniac can add life to our team in Search and Destroy. The team wasn't clicking fully. I think he adds a little bit of pace, a little bit of instinct when it comes to the SND. And I think that's a good enough example for me. I like what they said there. And I like how they put it out. I know Accuracy said he'd been playing bad for a couple of weeks. He wished he could have had a little bit longer to get a shot. But guess what? That's the cutthroat Call of Duty League. We've seen so many guys get benched this season and will continue to get benched. It's just how it happens. And nobody is safe. No one is secure. Your roster spot is not locked just because you think it is. So Accuracy so far up to this point in the season, he's had a .94 KD. So, I mean, I don't like to look too much into KD as far as when we're talking about dropping someone and thinking about instinct and intangibles and other things that they bring to your team. This is the order right here, guys. A grande shaken espresso with only 2 pumps of classic from Starbucks. That's the move right there. Let me tell you. Back to this now. So when we break it down from just Stage 3, Accuracy, he was underperforming for Minnesota, and I do believe that he was the crutch that held them back from making a statement in the Major. They underperformed there. They got knocked out of the Major a little bit earlier than they wanted to, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But when you look at it, they get 3-0'd by the Royal Ravens in round 2 to send them packing. They've disappointed in every major so far except for the Stage 2 Major when they beat Optic in the crazy round 11, when Lamar made that play when Optic was 3-stacking on Moscow and he just lined him up. So when we look further and dive deeper into Accuracy's performance so far throughout Stage 3 in particular, in the respawns, I mean, he was nothing special in hardpoint. He had a .84, and then in Search and Destroy, that's when you really talk about it. His KD and SND was a .65. 7 maps of SND throughout Stage 3, including the groups and the Major, and he had a .65 KD. He made a difference in control, and you really saw that by his gameplay. He knew how to play passive. He could win gunfights, trade in the right spots. But as far as the other two, I mean, I know control's the swing map in a series, but if you go the distance, how many hard points, how many searches are you playing? 2 apiece, and those were the game modes he was lacking. I mean, plain and simple, I think the Search and Destroy is something where they've kind of fallen apart for the Minnesota Rokkr, and it's something to look at. Now when you bring back and look at Major Maniac, what he did before he got benched earlier on in the season, had a .96 overall, and the same thing in hardpoint around there, around a 1 KD with a .99. SND, same thing, .99 for Major Maniac and a .97 in control. I think that he'll come back and he'll try and battle and be the man that he knows he can be, and I do think that he is complemented now by the best roster that we've seen from the Minnesota Rokkr. I think Standy is the best improvement that this team has made. He'll be in the discussion for Rookie of the Year at the end of the season, and he makes a difference. He's one of those subs who's a phenomenal player. He has the gun skill, and he's making plays like a veteran when he's just a rookie. There's a lot of big things that Standy has done this season. The first one that comes into mind is the huge 3-piece against... Actually, I think he got all 4 on raid against the Dallas Empire. But when you talk about the Minnesota Rokkr, they were all some of the top players from Stage 3, including the Major, and the groups. Standy had a 1.1 overall for the team, Attach with a 1.07, and Priesta was really stepping into his flex role. I think they have him in the right position at a 1.05 throughout Stage 3. Those are like the top 15 players in the Call of Duty League. The Minnesota Rokkr, in my opinion, were just missing one piece. Hopefully, Major Maniac can fill that out for them. I think he can, so watch out for the Minnesota Rokkr as we approach Stage 4. I think they're going to get some good practice in the coming weeks when we take a little bit of time off from matches as we head into Stage 4. And I really do think that the Minnesota Rokkr are just that one piece away from being a top 4 team, maybe even having a shot to win a major, and Major Maniac could be that piece. Standy and Attach are a nasty duo, and Priesta is one of the best flex players that I have seen this season. He's getting into confidence, he's finding his stride, and he's looking good on maps. All they have to do is expand their pool and get comfortable with Major Maniac, and they can beat one of the most dangerous teams in the Call of Duty League. That's the first roster change that we saw already heading into Stage 4, and another one right before I turned on the camera, lights, camera, action, to record this episode of the rotation. Zaptius out for the London Royal Ravens, who have made the most roster changes in the Call of Duty League. I can't even keep up with them anymore. I think they've had like 8 guys on their team. So Zaptius is out, and there's question marks about who they're going to add. Alex and then Afro getting his visa to the U.S. are 2 possible replacements that I've seen teased. Shout out to Crone, CDL Intel. Those are 2 that have been mentioned and 2 that are very viable in my opinion. I would have liked to have seen Zaptius maybe get a little bit more of a shot because I thought the London Royal Ravens were really finding a stride there. At the start of the major, coming into it, they won a big match at the end of groups. And then they 3-1 Paris, 3-0 the Minnesota Rokkr to make it all the way to round 3. They eventually fell to the LA Thieves where he was looking good in the major. Kenny draws a Venom. I'm excited to see what those guys can do in Stage 4. But I really did think that the London Royal Ravens were starting to find their stride. And it made me a little bit curious if they were going to do anything. And they're a team in the league taking no chances. When they have an opportunity to pull out a roster change, they're making it happen. So Zaptius, he had a 0.95 throughout Stage 3. He really made the difference for this team when it came to control, in my opinion. He was the guy that could kind of take over maps, and his intelligence and the routes he ran and what he did and how he kind of facilitated his talent around the map and delegated different responsibilities to his teammates. It was really big and it was prominent through control. He had a 1.07 throughout Stage 3, and I thought that's really where he shined. And I talked about the swing map. That's where Lamar made a difference too for the Minnesota Rokkr. Again, the hard point and SND, they matter a little bit more. I know when you're getting into the nitty-gritty and you can be a team that wins a couple of early maps and closes a series out early, that's great that you're big in control. But when you make it all the way to the 5th map in a series, if you're not performing where it matters in SND, then that's where the reasoning comes for you to be benched. So Zaptius was let go of. I don't think he was technically benched. I think the London Royal Ravens let go of him. He had a 0.86 in search and a 0.91 in hardpoint throughout Stage 3. I really thought the kid showed a lot of talent, but the London Royal Ravens have another rookie already who's shining in Paul X, and I think you try and build around him. So the Royal Ravens make another roster change, and I really thought that they were starting to come into their time, and now it's back to kind of square one to see what they can do. I like Zed. I like Paul X. We'll see who else they add as we come to it, dropping Zap. But those 2 guys are really the main staple names on the London Royal Ravens, in my opinion. I think Paul X and Zed are the 2 who have made the biggest difference on this team. And Shawnee is right there with the other 3. So, man, it's mind-boggling how many roster changes we've seen already throughout the season and early on yet again. I've talked about it a multitude of times. Those are my takes on the Minnesota Rokkr making the roster change to move accuracy to the bench and then getting rid of Zaptius. He'll head back to the challenger scene, and I hope the kid keeps his head up. He's a big young talent, and I think a lot of these guys Just wait it out. Please be patient with your careers because expansion for the Call of Duty League, it's just around the corner. I think we'll hit 16 teams this upcoming season for 2022, and we'll see what happens there. I hope that these guys hold out. I hope that they keep playing, they keep grinding in the challenger scene to stay warm, because there's going to be a lot of spots available, not only when we expand, hopefully to 16 teams next year, but for the rest of this season. There will be teams who continue to underperform throughout stage 4 and 5, and teams are going to want to make changes headed into champs if their team does, in fact, make it to champs. So keep your head high if you're in the challenger scene right now, because on any given day, you can get called up to the league and have a chance to re-earn your roster spot. That kind of brings up another thing before I hop into the next segment that I had planned here this week on episode 15 of the Rotation with Z-Hack. There have been a lot of rumors about development of the next title, so let's kind of jump into that real quick. I think what I've seen is they're a little bit behind and they're not liking where the game is. I think Sledgehammer has the title this time around for Call of Duty. It's been leaked that we're going to get World War II Vanguard or something of that nature, and we could have a delay for the first time in Call of Duty history. It's kind of wild to me how this is happening so often with titles now. Cyberpunk, we saw it. Halo has been delayed so many times. Grand Theft Auto has said they're going to make a new game for 25 years now, for God's sake. And now we're seeing it with Call of Duty. It's starting to scare me a little bit because as I've gotten older, the hype surrounding a release has gotten lesser and lesser. And the titles are trying to adapt, but they're also trying to input nostalgia. So what I've heard is that we're going to remaster Modern Warfare 2 multiplayer. I think it'd be lit. I mean, we all loved Modern Warfare 2, but are we there for the nostalgia? Did we actually like the game? We were kids. I was 13, 14, 15, 16. Can't even remember. But I was a teenager in high school when I was playing MW2, and those were some of the most fun days of my life. I would get home from school, hang out with all my buddies online, and we'd game. We'd have a full squad on Xbox Live, full 6 in the party. We'd be dropping nukes, going on win streaks in MW2. But I don't know if it'd be the same. I'm not sure if the game would feel the same, how things would be implemented with skill-based matchmaking. If that would happen in MW2, the developers would be making gun camos and packs for $5.99, $10.99, $20, and you wouldn't be using the original Modern Warfare 2 skins. So that kind of erases some of the nostalgia if we actually have that happen. And also on a new engine, the game could play differently. It could be Modern Warfare 2 with the maps, modes, and guns, but they could shoot differently. The movement could be different just because the engine, it might not be the greatest thing to remaster it. I know we all think about it and we love that game and we want to get back to it, but just a penny for your thought there. It might not be that great. With that being said, I hope Call of Duty gets it together though, because we need another big title for this next year and we need to keep rolling on with competitive. I've been one of the haters of bringing back throwback maps because it's like, guys, give us something new. Go in the room, hit the drawing board, find something fun. Have some great new maps. I think Black Ops 3 was really one of the best to do it. That and Black Ops 4. I mean, Seaside, Fringe. What else did we have? Frequency. Those were just to name a few. Like, those games had creativity in their maps, and they put it to the drawing board, put it to the test, and then they made it in competitive. They made it fun to watch for fans, and the players didn't really complain about the maps played in those games. I would love to see us come back and get those fun maps that are creative and new that we haven't seen before. I'm kind of sick of the throwbacks. I know we're talking about bringing Standoff back into the Call of Duty League. Yeah, sure, Search and Destroy, it's fun. But then we're recycling everything. We have Raid, we have Express, and then we're going to have Standoff? Come on. A new title is there for new everything. It makes players adapt from year to year. Different players are going to be better different years because they just feel better on a game. They work better with the movement, they understand the maps more, and their gun skill changes from title to title because they like a gun different. It can be something as simple as that. So I hope that we get past this delay, get a new Call of Duty, and we're into it. I'm excited. I'm excited for the rest of this season for Cold War, but I'm kind of nervous about what's to come in the future, guys. Let's get back into the talk from the Stage 3 Major, and this is where I'm going to get a little animated. So I'm going to wind up before I take this pitch of a take. Get a sip of water here. Just spilled all over myself. I just shot water all over my computer. I'm falling apart over here, guys. All right, here we go. Let's get warmed up. Everybody listen up. Attention, right here. 1, 2, 3, eyes on me. There is nothing that I hate more than a team playing passive thinking that they're in an advantageous position. I'm going to talk about this as it pertains to Call of Duty, but first I want to give you an example that you can relate to. Think about an NFL team when they're up late in the fourth quarter. Say they're up 3, say they're up 6, say they're up a touchdown, okay? They're up late in the fourth quarter. They have the ball with 2 minutes left. They run the ball 3 times and then punt the ball back to Tom Brady. What happens every single time a team plays passive? You punt the ball away, Tom Brady storms down the field in a minute 30, scores a touchdown, and then beats you in overtime. I don't want to call out a team in particular, but I have to just from the situation that I saw happen over the weekend with the New York Subliners. It happened in the grand finals. I'm talking about the checkmate control. It seemed to me like they were content going into the defense round 5 against the Atlanta FaZe, and this is where the series turned around to me. On that checkmate control, it was a bloodbath. This whole series was insane. These teams went back and forth throughout the entirety of the series, but this is the spot where I think NYSL, if they take this control, I think they could have gone on and won the series. So what happened here? They knew they had the defense in round 5, but then this is where it relates to the NFL when you just run it 3 times and punt. They had the defense going into round 5, and instead of playing a little bit aggressive, going to push out Atlanta FaZe spawn, picking up kills, trapping them, and just ending it on defense in round 5, they played safe, they played passive, they held from the plane back into their spawn, and tried to play trades throughout the entirety of the round. What happens then? They lose a couple of those trades. The Atlanta FaZe push up. They capture A. They end up outslaying the New York Subliners, who were sitting on their heels, and then they won the map on B in round 5 when they were technically at a disadvantage having the offensive side when we were just trading defenses throughout the entire series, and they won it there. That game 6 was pivotal to me. I'll break down the series in a little bit, but it was just hard to watch. The Subliners went up 1-0, then FaZe came storming back. It was 2-1, and then they went up 3-1 after the hard point. The search was then won by the New York Subliners, and then from there, that control, if they win that control there, that changes the series, because then they're going to lose that raid S&D no matter what. Atlanta FaZe, they dominated that raid S&D 6-1. But the NYSL team, they looked dominant in hardpoint throughout Stage 3. I think they win the hardpoint, and then we saw them do magical things on Express S&D, which would have been the Game 9. I'm a firm believer, if they don't play passive, play for the round 5, and then just try and sit back and play for trades, and they make a couple better plays and force out a little bit of a spawn trap instead of being scared, they win that checkmate control, they lose the raid S&D, then they win the next 2, close it out on Express S&D, and NYSL would have been your Stage 3 Major champions. I was so frustrated watching that series, and guys, I get it. Things happen in a split second. I'm not there. I'm not in the moment. I'm not in the heat of the battle, in the grand finals, nervous, and making the split-second decisions. But just from an outsider's perspective, analyzing it, that's what I saw, and it just hurt me. Because I'm not an NFL coach, but I still get mad week in and week out during the pro football season when I see a team play passive up late in the fourth quarter, run it 3 times, punt it away, then the other team scores. I'm like, wow, didn't see that coming. You guys sat on your heels and it cost you the game. That's what I felt happened to the New York Subliners in that control on checkmate. I feel like if they didn't sit back, they win that control and they win the series in 9 maps, 5-4 over the Atlanta FaZe. That's my take on that. I hate to see teams play passive. It's just like the same thing in Search and Destroy, where you're up 4-3 or 3-2 in a life advantage, and then you just have someone solo chowing across the map, throwing their life away. That's how you lose a series, guys. Gosh, it irks me and frustrates me so much. I know Merc has said it on the broadcast and on Twitter. I don't understand how you trade those life advantages because you're giving away a series at that point. It's the same thing that I saw from the Subliners in that control round 5. They played passive. It's almost like they drew a line in the map that they couldn't cross. They played back, tried to play trades, and then they just lost position, lost a couple of gunfights, and that was it. That one, it was tough to watch from the perspective of seeing stuff on the outside, but I'm not a professional. I wasn't in the game. There could have been a lot more that happened throughout that last round that I didn't see, but that's just my opinion and my observation. On to the next thing, talking about the Stage 3 Major. Shout out to the Atlanta FaZe. These guys were beasts throughout the entire weekend. They faced adversity, battled, and they looked like the best team in the Call of Duty League this weekend, and they proved themselves by winning the Stage 3 Major. They responded and got their revenge against NYSL because we all know what happened in the winners final. They lost it 3-2. Bodies were shot. Clay was hype. So the Tiny Tears, they had to come back and get them. Arcides, Animal, Celium made huge plays when he needed to, and that is what makes the Atlanta FaZe so good. They know their role, and they fit right into it. They played perfectly. They played composed. They made the right decisions. They traded out. They didn't get too aggressive, but they picked their spots to be aggressive when they needed to. I love to see them get their revenge right there, and it was a lot of fun to watch these guys win the Stage 3 Major. There was some doubt around the Atlanta FaZe when they fell to the Toronto Ultra last Major. They get their revenge against them in the losers final 3-2. There was so much good Call of Duty played this weekend. Like from Saturday on, everything was nuts. So the Atlanta FaZe, they first get their revenge on the Ultra in round 2. They beat them 3-2. Then they fall into the losers bracket, beat them again in the elimination final. But when you take a look at these maps in the Call of Duty League Stage 3 Major, it started off hot with an upset in round 1 with the Mutineers over the LA Thieves. That was nuts. I'm going to bring it up for you guys, put it on the screen so we can all take a peek and admire this together. So as we break down the Stage 3 Major, like this was kind of a snooze fest. FaZe dominated. Empire still have some things to figure out. Speaking of which, I'm excited for the flank this week because Zuma said they're getting Rambo Ray on, and he's going to talk about everything. The whole situation, why everything happened, how everything went down with Huke. So I'm going to stay tuned into that. Then the Florida Mutineers, they come out, they look nasty in one match. They beat the LA Thieves 3-1, move on, and then they just get smoked the next two, 3-0, 3-0 to lose. These two were predictable. Everything that happened on day 1 was kind of a breeze. Day 2, kind of the same deal, honestly. I mean, the one that may have been an upset right here was the Royal Ravens over the Minnesota Rokkr. Like I said, the Royal Ravens, they looked really good, so that's why I was kind of surprised that they got rid of Zap. From there on out, we experienced some of the best Call of Duty we've seen all season, and this is why this is the most competitive league. I'll argue that it's the most competitive league we've ever seen in Call of Duty, the most competitive esport in the world right now. There are like 5 teams who could win the major every single stage. So you see a great matchup here, 3-2 Atlanta FaZe to Ultra. I was glued to the screen the entire weekend. My rewards points from watch time of the CDL, it's got to be through the roof for how much Call of Duty I've watched. So that one was a blast. Then the Subliners, they just looked dominant. In my predictions, I had them going to the grand finals. I had them beating the Ultra 5-4. So I was off there a little bit, but I knew the Subliners, they were coming to play. Then you drop down to the losers bracket. These were some fun ones to watch. It was really good to see Optic go on a run throughout the weekend and get some things figured out. I still think they have a few adjustments to make, but the fans, you know how they are. You know how the green wall is. Deep breath. Some of the fans in the green wall, they're idiots. Like, plain and simple. And they're not even fans. Like Hector has said, they're the fake ones. When you ride with them when they're good, you ride with them when they're bad. There are fans there who are just, they're haters, and it's annoying, and they're ruthless, and they're saying things that are just, don't say that. You have no facts, no evidence to back anything up, and you're just roasting these guys. Settle down. The critics, they're ridiculous. So it was really good to see the boys from Optic make a run this weekend. But it started here. Look at all these matchups. Ultra versus Thieves, even though it was 3-1, it was a dandy. Then the winners final, 3-2, absolute banger, as Lottie would say. Then you go into round 5, Ultra take the big 3-2 over Optic. That one was tight. That was a hell of a series. It was fun to watch. Then you get into the elimination final, another 3-2. We had so much good Call of Duty on Saturday and Sunday. And then the finals, I thought, realistically, it could have gone 9, as I just said, if the control swings the other way for New York on checkmate and they win that round 5. But this one went 5-2. It was a great weekend of Call of Duty. We had some incredible matches. There was a lot of fun stuff to watch. There were a lot of guys who won the weekend. And I'll talk about them as I get further into a couple of these new segments, guys. Tease. I'm excited to get to them. But for now, like, we look at that bracket, there's some incredible stuff that happened this past weekend in the Stage 3 Major. So it was a lot of fun to watch the whole time. It's good that we're getting a little rest and relaxation from everything that has happened. And then we're headed into Stage 4. Right off the rip, we're going to get into Stage 4, and it'll be a lot of fun to watch. There were a lot of teams who proved themselves, and there were a lot of players who stood out to me and made some waves on their rosters. That's a little tease, guys. I think, you guys want me to do power rankings real quick? I can do some power rankings if you guys want. Let's do some power rankings. So we're going to get up over here, and we're going to hop into a, let's see, tier list maker, boom, boom. We're going to get there real quick, real quick. And then we're going to search it up because there's some stuff that I think has shifted, and there's some upsets that I think have happened. So let's get over here. We'll get back onto the cam. I don't know how quick we're going to roll here. Call of Duty games, Call of Duty. What is going on here? What are we doing to me? CDL teams. Hope you guys are enjoying the show so far. Thanks so much, everyone, for tuning in. There we go. Hopefully we're going to get this one here. Rank the CDL teams 2021. All right, let's see if we got the correct logos here and everything. Atlanta phase. Okay, perfect. We're here. All right, so plain and simple, I'm going to take this through. We're going to rank everyone from 1 to 12, best to worst. Obviously, we got to start everything off with the previous champions, the Atlanta phase. They're the best team in the league right now. The team who wins the major, you got to give them credit. And I think that the results of everything that happened from this previous major, it stays pretty true. 1 through 4, at least in my opinion, those ones are accurate. So with that being said, we have Atlanta phase and the New York subliners. And I want to talk about this real quick. Watch out for NYSL. They made a quick roster change. They got Hydra. That team is the truth, man. Watch out for them at the end of the season. Not just for Stage 4 Major, Stage 5 Major, but I watch out for NYSL to win champs. Clay brings the veteran prowess. He has the hype, the leadership, and these guys respect him. They listen to him, and they're studs as well. Hydra is one of the best in the game, in my opinion. The kid is disgusting. He's nasty. He has proven himself in this league, and I think he's a superstar. So I'm watching out for NYSL for the rest of the season, straight up. These guys are disgusting. Atlanta FaZe, I mean, plain and simple, that team, it's kind of the same thing as NYSL. Arcides, he's one of the veterans. He has the leadership skills. Then Simp and Abizi and Celium are the young talents. When those guys are all clicking, they're dangerous and they're the number one team in the league, and that's why. When we hop into the 3 spot, the Toronto Ultra, they still look incredible to me. I mean, they're one of the best teams in the league. I don't even pay attention to this right here, guys. Don't pay attention to S, A, B, C, D, because that's not how we're ranking them. We're just doing numbers. 1 through 12, that's how we're doing it. The Toronto Ultra, they kind of took a step back this time around in the major, and all that really happened is they lost the tight matches. Some teams exposed them a little bit in their strong map set, in some of the controls and the search and destroys. They kind of faltered. But they also battled in some of these 3-2s like you saw it when they beat Optic. These guys have the clutch gene in them, and in the all-European team, I've said it and I'll say it again, they remind me of Splice from IW. Just disgusting, winning tournament after tournament, and they're putting numbers up. Next one that I got to put up there in 4th, Optic. They bounce back here. I'll be interested to see how everyone stays in check, how their egos ride, and how they stick with each other there. I mean, I think Bruce was performing. Envoy showed what he can do. Time and time again, he's one of the best. And Scump is performing. Sorry if we're getting audio on these ads, guys. Okay, it's muted. We're going to try and pause this. But Scump, he's popping off. Same thing with Bruce. Bruce has really shown up, and I think he's the X factor for Optic. Because sometimes he can get in his head a little bit. I feel like he can get frustrated and he kind of just gives up on a series. He has the passion, and maybe that comes across a little bit on the wrong side. But to me, I love his passion. I think he just has to stay in a series and pop off like he did. Bruce is one of the most talented players in the CDL. He's a stud, and he showed it this past weekend. Optic finishing T4. I look for them to do some work, especially on LAN here. This is where things kind of get interesting, and I feel like some stuff can be shaken up. So next in the 5 spot, I have the LA Thieves. I think they're starting to find their stride with Huke, and him and Kenny are really complementing each other. They're 2 superstars. I think the team is built around Kenny, but now Huke is kind of taking that and allowing Kenny to breathe, do his thing, and Huke is making plays around the map. He's slaying out, and he's important for the LA Thieves in that aspect. So I like where they sit there. Next up, I like the Florida Mutineers. They really showed me a lot. I think Neptune is the truth. He's the star of this team. They just need a little bit more of a performance out of Havoc as their 4th, and they're dangerous. Skies and Awakening are just, they're filthy. Those guys are different. They're 2 of the best ARs in the league. I think I'd put Skies on top of Awakening right now. But that team has arguably the greatest AR duo in the Call of Duty League, and they run that team. On top of that, the Florida Mutineers, arguably the best social media guy in the league and the sickest logo and colors. I got to go get myself some Florida Mutineer merch. Don't be surprised if these guys jump into the top 4 and hop out, maybe even finish top 3 and make it to a grand final here in Stage 4. Skies and Awakening are disgusting. Those 2 subs are what you look at. I think Neptune, another candidate for Rookie of the Year. They're making waves, the Florida Mutineers. I like that team. When we look at the next team, I think the Minnesota Rokkr, with the move they just made with Major Maniac, I think they can kind of step up here. So I have them sliding into the 7 spot. I already touched on that roster change, so I won't go too much into it again, but I have them there. The Dallas Empire, they've been struggling a little bit, so that's why they fall into the 8 spot in my power rankings. I think they just have to find some stuff out. They have the talent there, but there have just been some things not going right against those top-tier teams, and that's why I have them down there, plain and simple. These bottom teams are really the ones where there's some work to be done. So Seattle Surge, I have them down there at the lowest. The Paris Legion, just a step in front of them. The Royal Ravens looked really good, and I could have them battling with Dallas Empire, but I'm going to leave them there for now, and the LA Gorillas fall there. So you have Phase 1, Subliners 2, Ultra 3, Optic 4. Thieves are 5. You can't see that on the screen right now. Let's scroll down a little bit. Thieves are 5, Mutineers 6, Rokkr 7, Empire 8, London Royal Ravens 9, the Gorillas 10, Legion 11, and the Seattle Surge sit at the 12 spot in my power rankings. Let me know what you guys think, who you would mix around, switch around with what I did there. So give me your thoughts and your opinion on the power rankings and who you think is going to show up in Stage 4. I gave you a couple of my teams. I really do like the Florida Mutineers. I think that the New York Subliners will be disgusting, and they're going to keep contending for majors. And Optic and LA Thieves have risen in the rankings a little bit. So those are my power rankings there as we head in to Stage 4. And now it's time to break out into some of these new segments, guys. I'm excited to roll these out to you. You know Fantasy Call of Duty is big for me. If you love fantasy football and you watch the Call of Duty League or fantasy basketball, baseball, daily fantasy, whatever you're into, I encourage you guys to get a group together. Talk to me about it. Hit me up on Twitter at zhack16. Let's start a Fantasy CDL team for the rest of the season so you can get your bearings and get into it for the next year. Draft Buff is a great host for it, and I'm waiting for some of these other guys to get into it. Whether it be DraftKings, some of those betting sites that you can find to do daily fantasy or fantasy football throughout the season, dynasty leagues, they need to pick up Call of Duty. We need Fantasy CDL to be able to bet on, and we need to start creating neat leagues and normalizing it. So you guys know I'm all about fantasy, and that is where the new segments are coming in. So we're going to start out the first new segment rolling out as it pertains to Fantasy Call of Duty. Let's do a little bit of buy or sell. Buy or sell Call of Duty League Fantasy. So for those of you guys who are new to fantasy, buy or sell is we talk about particular players, and if you buy on them or if you sell them, if you have them on your roster, if you think you can kind of get rid of them, or you keep them and go out to try and trade them. The first player I want to bring up in buy or sell is Hydra. Slam the buy button on him. Buy, buy, buy. Hydra. You should be willing to trade a top-tier, high-caliber player just for Hydra's upside and what the kid can do on the map. When I talk about the stats and when we look at fantasy, for some of you guys who don't know how we break it down, like in fantasy football, when you earn points on touchdowns and a defense earns points on forcing turnovers and your kicker gets points for long field goals and extra points, all that good stuff. And then you get bonuses if you go over 100 yards rushing, receiving, 400 yards passing, and touchdowns. In the Call of Duty League, we work it by mode. So you can do this however you want, really. I kind of like to do a 2-to-1 format in my league for respawn kills. So in hardpoint, you get 2 points for a kill, you lose a point for a death, you get half a point for each second you sit in the hill. If your team wins, you get a 5-point bonus, and then your score, you can do that if you're into that. So your total score on the map, you can put like, a 1/10 of a point or 1 whole point on your score throughout the game. Same thing for control, guys. I do 2 points for a kill, -1 for a death, and then objective, if you get a capture on a point, you can give however many you want, really, 1, 2, 5. I've seen it done a lot in different leagues. And then you kind of boost it up a little bit in search and destroy because there's not as many places to score. So you look at, 20 points for a kill, -10 for a death, so you still have that 2-to-1 ratio going on. So as we get into buy or sell here, I talk about Hydra. You have to slam the buy on the kid. I know he's a rookie, but I want him on my roster, and I'm willing to trade a top-tier talent. A person that comes to mind, in my opinion, who I'm willing to get rid of to pick up Hydra, even though it may be in a different role, but you can play him in a flex spot, is Octane. He's the first one who comes to mind for me because throughout the season, Octane, he's been a performer. He's held over a 1 KD, and he always does. He's Mr. Reliable. You know Octane's floor is going to be a 1 KD. He'll slay out in the hard point, but you have to factor a lot more into these situations. When Octane is in a match and he's going against teams, the Seattle Surge oftentimes are going to get 3-0'd. NYSL are going to be on the dishing end of that 3-0, or if they're playing a high caliber team, the NYSL have the opportunity to go the distance in a 3-2 series, still win it, and that gives the opportunity to your player to be playing extra maps and give them the shot to pad the stats a little bit more. So you have to take all these things into account, because a guy like Octane, you know his floor. Like I said, he has a 1.06 KD on the season. He slays out in the hard point. He does big things in the SND with a 1.25 KD. In the control, he has a 1.05. But the ceiling for Hydra, it's high. It's higher than Octane's ceiling. You have to be willing to go out and get Hydra, in my opinion. In this buy or sell, I'm saying buy for Hydra. You go out right now, text your friends in your league, and you say, hey, if they have Hydra, you got to trade for him. If not, you better be hitting the waiver wire and picking him up right away. You can get rid of someone who you have on your bench who you haven't been playing. Then you get Hydra for free, and that's huge. So I'm all over Hydra. Text your friend, say, hey, what do you want for Hydra? You got to be willing to give up a little bit to get the kid, but it's worth it. He has a 1.13 on the season in hardpoint. He's popped off, man. He's the best hardpoint player in the league right now with a 1.29. That's where he shines, and that's where you get the benefit if this series goes at least 4 maps, because he gets his best game mode twice in a series. He's improved his SND with a 1.1 and a 0.94 in control. So I'm willing to get rid of a high caliber guy. I would say you get rid of guys like Formal or even Octane, and you're willing to trade them to pick up Hydra. Another guy, as we talk about someone who may be on the waivers right now, and someone who you have the opportunity to go pick up without losing someone in a trade, is Cheen. He's been incredible since he got picked up by the LA Gorillas, and they're in a power position for fantasy, in my opinion. They're a middle tier team. They're in the middle of the road as they sit in the standings, and they're a team that will compete, and they can go the distance in every single series they can play. Chino is kind of the glue guy that holds the LA Gorillas together. He'll put up the stats for you, and the team likes him. His leadership is prominent. He'll make the plays. He'll sacrifice stuff, but that won't give up too much for you as it comes to his stats in fantasy. So Cheen so far, since he's been picked up, overall KD, a 1.02. He's even with a 1 in hardpoint. Search and destroy, where you get those double points, where you get 20 points for a kill, and it pays to stay alive. He has a 1.18. He's one of the best search and destroy minds and players in the league right now, and LAG have been on the upside. They look really, really good, so I'm buying on Cheen. He's one of the guys that I think you go out and get, you pick him up off the waivers, and you make a big play with him. He's been absolutely stellar since being picked up by the LA Gorillas, and I think you hammer him as we talk about buy or sell. The last person that I want to bring up who has a lot of upside, in my opinion, he comes from the Minnesota Rokkr, and I think he benefits from the roster change that just happened. Standy. I'm buying on Standy all day long, because I think that Major Maniac really, really, really helps out this team, and Standy is one of the best in the league right now. The kid has been disgusting since entering the Call of Duty League, and in Stage 3, he only improved more and more for the Minnesota Rokkr. That team is stellar. They're going to battle time and time again. I mean, I'm curious to see how the groups roll out when they get announced for Stage 4, but he's one of the guys who we have to look out for. I'm willing to give up a lot for Standy. Maybe not as much as Hydra, but he had a 1.1 overall in Stage 3, a 1.07 in the hard point, and a 1.23 in control. So Standy has a lot of upside. He picks up a lot of kills, but he also plays the objective really, really well. He knows how to cycle around stuff in control, which excites me. And in search and destroy, oftentimes you see him picking up first bloods and also playing his life really well, staying last alive, the opportunity to clutch up and get those bomb diffuses. And he's in the hill oftentimes. He averages 63 seconds a game in hardpoint. So I really, really like Standy. I'm buying on the kid. Those are my 3 buys in the buy or sell category. And we're not hitting any sells today because we're not feeling in an angry mood. We're not saying who you need to release, get rid of. We're saying who you need to go out and get. So those are my 3 for buy or sell. That's the first new segment as fantasy comes concerned. You guys want to do another one right away? Yeah, let's hop into another one. We're talking fantasy sleepers headed into stage 4. CDL fantasy sleepers. Fantasy sleepers here. These are a couple of guys that I really think you need to keep your eyes out. And these are guys that may be on the waiver wire and you're willing to go get. The first one, I talk about Paul X. He's been one of the best rookies in the league, and London are starting to come into form. This roster change can switch things up a little bit. They can start to play different, but they've started to work around him, and he really has shown the big play potential for me. I think that Paul X is one of the guys who can take over a series for London, and it's someone that they've built a roster around. Through stage 3, he had a 1.06 overall, a 1.05 in the hard point, and a 1.08 in the KD. Paul X is showing how smart he is, how good of gun skill he has, and how much of a team player he is, willing to perform and work with these guys, and then finally in control a 1.08. Watch out for him. He's a big sleeper, and he's probably a player that you may be able to go at depending on if you're in a 6-man, 8-man, or 10-man league. Paul X is a guy that you can go find on the waiver wire. If not, guys may not be willing to keep him, be like, hey, he plays for the Royal Ravens. You know, they're not the hottest team. Watch out for them. They have a lot of upside as a team to take over for stage 4, and Paul X is going to be one of the guys to do it. This next player that we're going to talk about in fantasy sleepers, who I think can really pop off, and you might be like, dude, you're crazy calling him a sleeper, but I don't think I am. Huke is the guy who's a sleeper as we head into stage 4. I know he's one of the most prominent names in the Call of Duty League, but with the roster change and him not playing a couple of matches and coming in a little later in stage 3, guys may have gotten rid of him, put him on the bench, or dropped him completely to go pick someone up and put in their starting lineup. So Huke can be readily available on the waivers, and also you can go trade for him. He underperformed. So some kids in your league, they might be like, man, he didn't even have a 1 KD. There's like 15, 20 guys who had a 1 KD, and Huke wasn't one of them. He had a 0.94, 0.93 in hard point. He's a great S&D player, so they could see that and be smart to keep him with a 1.13, but then just a 0.89 in control. So to fantasy standards, Huke underperformed throughout stage 3 in the little time that he had through the end of the regular time and then into the major as well. So Huke is the final sleeper we're talking about, guys. He can be readily available, and he's going to pop off into stage 4. Mark my words. He'll have over a 1 KD in every single game mode, and he'll be the best player for the LA Thieves. Him and Kenny are going to be able to work off of each other. Venom and Draza, they're going to be the role players and support there. Huke and Kenny are going to go slay out, and they're going to play monumental roles for this team. Go out and get Huke if you can, all right? Watch out for him. He's going to be stellar. He's going to be a stud. The final fantasy segment that we're talking about to close out the rotation fantasy section here is standouts from stage 3. Fantasy standouts from the CDL. The big guys here, I already talked about one of them, so we can kind of keep rolling on him from buy or sell. I talked about Hydra. He stepped into this league as a rookie in stage 3, and he showed up huge. Guys, he's the best hardpoint player in the league right now. A 1.29. If you were blessed enough to pick up Hydra, take a shot on him from NYSL on your roster, I applaud you, and you probably won stage 3 in your league. So Hydra is the first standout from stage 3. I already talked about him a little bit, so we're going to breeze by him, but he's one of the best. The next one I have to talk about is Skies. I'm going to play the pun. I have to do it. Skies, Caesar Skies Bueno, invested in his game. He benefits from Havoc being the route man and kind of sacrificing his lives on the routes, and this gives Skies the opportunity to slay out as the top AR for the Florida Mutineers. I love what they've done as a team. I love the roster changes they've made, and he's one of the top 8 guys in the league. Sky's at a 1.09 throughout Stage 3. He kind of faltered in S&D, but a 1.14 in hardpoint and a 1.04 in control. It made him huge. He stood out, and then the depth of run that the Mutineers made it in the major made Skies even that much better on your fantasy roster. That's something that I really want you guys to pay attention to when you're drafting or going to pick up guys off the waiver. Make sure you find someone who can go on a deep run in a tournament on that team. Because if you have someone on your roster who gets first rounded and you're locked in for the major, he might be worth benching or dropping to find a player, maybe one of those final role players on a team, just because you get more games out of them. So that's a big pickup for me right there. Skies was a huge standout. And the final one, we're going to segue it into everybody's favorite segment of the week. So we're still talking fantasy standouts, but we're also talking all of your favorite segment, who is the best in the game. This guy took over the map time and time again. He was the best player throughout Stage 3, throughout the Stage 3 Major. He didn't even have to put the team on his back, but he did anyway. He popped off so much, and the best in the game after Stage 3 through the Stage 3 Major and a fantasy standout is Arcides. In 47 maps, he maintained a 1.17 KD and was positive in every single game mode. He was arguably the best fantasy Call of Duty player throughout the stage. On top of that, in the grand finals, he had a 1.23. His only bad match was when he went 3-9 in Checkmate S&D. Other than that, he was having his way with NYSL, playing with them like they were little action figures as you're a kid. He was dominating and doing absolutely whatever he wanted with NYSL. Arcides was playing mind games with the subliners. You saw it on the Garrison control. He only died once in the first round and looked like an absolute monster. He picked up full streaks and continued his way throughout the rest of the series. Closed it out in the final search and destroy. He worked well with Celium there, but he was dominant. He was the player of the stage. He's the best player in fantasy Call of Duty right now. He had a 1.17 throughout Stage 3. 1.18 in hardpoint, just a 0.74 kills per round, is dominant in search and destroy, and that gave him a 1.14 KD in SND, and he closed it out with a 1.16 control KD. Arcides is the best in the game, and he is your fantasy standout and the best player. If you have him on your team, you are extremely lucky, my friends. Let's normalize fantasy Call of Duty, guys. Shout out to Draft Buff for putting it on right now. But guys, we need the big dogs to pick up fantasy Call of Duty and come to the rotation with Z-Hack for all your expertise. We did a little buy or sell today. We did fantasy sleepers and fantasy standouts and best in the game. DraftKings, get involved. Daily fantasy, Call of Duty, you can put together a team. Let us gamble on these Call of Duty matches. We're getting back onto land. FanDuel, hit my line. I need a little logo on the bottom there of the rotation with Z-Hack, sponsored by DraftKings, FanDuel, Daily Fantasy. Whoever wants to come, I'm right here. We need to get fantasy Call of Duty and other esports normalized in fantasy. Give us League of Legends, give us Call of Duty, give us Overwatch, whatever you want, and I'll be here to be the expert on it. I hope you guys enjoyed the fantasy segments this week, and I hope we get to grow and grow. Start a league, invite your friends, hit me up, I'll join your guys' league. Fantasy Call of Duty on Draft Buff, they do a great job putting together the scoring. It's a really easy system, really easy to draft, so go out and find it there, okay? Let's normalize fantasy Call of Duty, and let's get through it for Stage 4, Stage 5, and Champs. That's going to do it for episode number 15 of The Rotation with Z-Hack. Thanks so much, everyone, for tuning in. I do hope you enjoyed the fantasy segments, a couple of new segments. We got new imaging for the podcast. I was really excited to do this episode today, and I talked so much, so thank you guys for listening. Hit me up on Twitter at ZHack16, YouTube at ZachWarhack, or just search The Rotation with Z-Hack, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. We are everywhere. We're taking over the game. Thanks for the love and support, and we'll see you next time. Peace.